They say procrastination is the crime of stealing from your future self. Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Sindhu Muddam, and I'm a 16-year-old student who, like many other students, parents, and teachers here, has grown up listening to motivating quotes regarding how to work hard or those 3-minute clips on YouTube about how to increase productivity. Whilst I spent so much time trying to better my work ethic, I never realized how deeply I was getting sucked into a vicious cycle of toxic productivity. Toxicity is a word that is thrown around like no other in the 21st century, but to put it in tangent with productivity makes it seem like an oxymoron, which is why in the next 10 minutes today, I will be elucidating the prevalence of toxic productivity in the 21st century machine. So, what is productivity essentially? Productivity is a philosophy of life. It is a state of mind. Being efficient means doing at every moment what we consciously choose to do and not what we feel we're being forced to do by circumstances. It is an attitude for continued improvement. Today's theme, The Fabric of Being, is one that covers a myriad of themes such as that of race, finance, background, and economy, and doing work has become so deeply intertwined into people's lives worldwide, you might as well refer to it as one of those essential threads of humanity in the 21st century machine. I call this generation and this century a machine because we have devoted an excess amount of time to perfection beyond reason, and this has manifested a toxic productivity culture. Toxic productivity is more than just workaholism because whilst workaholism is the compulsion to work incessantly, toxic productivity doesn't even let up once that task is complete. Once you're technically done with a project or work, you might feel guilty for not having done more or having finished said project at an earlier period in time. Now, there are a multitude of reasons why this culture has been so deeply intertwined into our generation. The COVID-19 pandemic put a stop on life as we know it for 2 months in 2020, and it's still a hindrance for some of us today. But at first, it was perceived as a turning point in people's lives. At-home workouts became the new it thing for so many people, and I know I had a phase for journaling and baking, something that my parents would call making a mess of the kitchen. Either way, we chose to be productive in our long break, and whilst this may be beneficial for teenagers as we integrate skills that benefit us in the future, we have slowly integrated a do or die behavior, quite literally. Essentially, young children and adults today worry excessively about their future and success, and it's saddening to see how this behavior is being promoted. Toxic productivity is hidden in every aspect of our life, and a primary reason that has led to the prevalence of a toxic productivity culture is capitalism and its intrinsic connection with happiness. Now, I had no idea about capitalism affecting our happiness until I watched a YouTube video by Eve Cornwell and realized just how interconnected our economy or capitalism is to our behavior. So, modern capitalism fully emerged in the early modern period between the 16th and 18th centuries with the establishment of merchant capitalism. The central ideology of capitalism is that of an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state or the government. Happiness, however, is a term that cannot be easily defined. It's not fit into one set definition. I'm sure happiness means something different to everyone, but according to Aristotle, who first introduced the philosophy of happiness, happiness is the state of achieving. Essentially, it means that I will only be happy once I achieve something of great value, and the reason why modern capitalism is linked to this definition is due to the creation of profit. Let me stay off here on a tangent of business terms to detail this connection. Imagine I was presented with 2 projects that I could invest in, being Project A and Project B. Both project takes $50 million as an initial investment, but Project A only runs for 6 months and I can double my investment to become $100 million. Project B, however, runs for 2 years and I can triple my investment to $150 million. Now, the question I pose for you is, which project would you choose? Take a minute, think about it. See, the inherent flaw in our capitalist society is that we would choose Project B. Because we need profit to be happy, we are willing to wait a longer period of time to gain more profit, essentially prolonging the time it takes for us to be happy. As a global society, we are willing to push away any internal satisfaction if it brings us materialistic happiness. Prolonging happiness and working incessantly is a mindset so deep-rooted within our being that it persists in our daily life as students or working adults. We want to keep working and go above and beyond to complete tasks regardless of the time it takes because we predict that the benefit or the profit from it might be extravagant. The moment we prolong our happiness because of the slight chance that we might plausibly benefit from it in the future, we fall into the inescapable collapse of the toxic productivity echo chamber. Now, I think one issue that comes with toxic productivity is that you never know when to draw the line. And as a student who's gone through the highs and lows of such behavior, I believe that the stress that comes with relying on productivity for validation is unparalleled. To explain, I had always thought of myself as an average student. I came to school regularly, attended most of my classes, did some of my work. Just that was normal for me, and this is a mindset that I had followed since grade school, which worked well for me. But then came my IGCSE boards. Like the rest of the cohort in 2020, my exams were based on predicted scores, and I kid you not, when I first saw my scores on results day, I scanned that website again and again, even checking if it was actually my scores or if I somehow managed to hack into someone else's account. I don't know, that's how in disbelief I was. For a person who always thought of themselves to be an average student and behaved as such, to be suddenly posted on Instagram with all of these toppers and school's first rankers and be marketed on websites with other excellent students, that is scary because it makes you feel like you need to keep achieving those marks to be, well, appreciated. I think the reason why I even became obsessed with academic validation is because it gave me some sort of fleeting recognition, which is why I didn't want to lose that. So after my first semester in IB, I felt like I had to be better and work like there was no tomorrow. I would wake up at unholy hours just to cram chemistry into my head, which I, by the way, still do not understand, or go 5 hours straight every day with no human nor social interaction because all I would do was sit in my room and mug up past papers. But here's the thing, did it work? Absolutely not. I ended up getting the same average score for the semester that I worked incessantly hard for, and for the semester where I felt like my work was barely minimal. Essentially, my obsession with productivity did not even lead to the results I worked for, and I believe that a parallel can be drawn between this situation and events wherein you feel like you worked incessantly hard for something and didn't get the results you desired. I think the most notable point here is that although I thought I acted in a carefree manner in my first semester, my productivity was enough. We have been programmed to think that after we achieve a certain result, we need to strive to get better and bigger results going forward, which makes us think of our past achievements as mediocre. This mindset is unrealistic and it will eat away at a person. I strongly believe that whilst there will always be room for improvement, the method by which you strive to improve strongly affects the results. I wish you could just sit in a room and cram theories into your head and pass with flying colors, but that doesn't work, unfortunately. Tried and tested. So, when I was given this opportunity to make a TEDx speech, I wanted to make sure that I came up here and spoke about something that I believe is manifested in our world, which is why I chose the topic of toxic productivity in the 21st century machine. I think that this is a behavior which engulfs all of us, yet we do not notice it. To me, success and happiness is not based on your grades or any other form of materialistic validation, and I promise you, after a certain point, no one else bases your worth off of said grades. I actually asked my parents their 10th grade final marks, and they couldn't remember them, and then I asked them, well, how exactly do you maintain the job that you currently have? And their answer was skills. So this led me to think that instead of mugging up our notes, we should try to understand them. Instead of aimlessly following tutorials on how to do certain tasks, we should try to actually learn that process. I believe that a successful person in 2021 is a person with skills. Skills that you can market, skills that you can sell, and skills that you can use to make progress in life. Unfortunately, we are currently stuck in a world where close proximity with others is dangerous to our health, and vacations and other conventional activities that relieve stress are far from our reach. But I implore you to not use this as a reason to burn yourself out. Sure, use your lockdown periods to become the best versions of yourself, for I would never tell anyone not to work hard. If I did, I'd probably get disowned, but I would ask you to work hard whilst knowing your limits. If your limit is 30 minutes a day or 5 hours a day, so be it, but don't try to regularly push yourself past that limit. Here's another corny, conventional idea that could also get me disowned, but make mistakes. One of the most extensively used inventions, the light bulb, came to life only after 1,000 failed attempts. I'm sure it's okay for your computer code or your math division sum to go wrong a couple of times. Ultimately, what I have come to understand is that what makes you special and different from everyone that surrounds you is how you perceive the world and work towards your goals. If you fall into this rat race of trying to work at someone else's speed just because you get some sort of validation from that, sure, you might reach the finishing line at the same time that they do, but they will be the only ones that are able to make that final victory lap. Because they ran at their own speed, it didn't wear them out as much as it wore you out. This is where self-care comes in. Apart from knowing your limit, it is also of paramount importance to pace yourself. Set aside time to plan out your week and try to accept the fact that as human beings, we need downtime, we need sleep, we need breaks, and we need rest. The lack of such essentials leads to burnout, and I understand how tough it can be to break out of this mindset because of the people, the content, the media that surrounds us, which promotes utopian standards, yet sometimes these standards are unattainable. I think it is imperative to understand that you cannot compare yourself to people in a completely different time zone to you who have contrasting resources, goals, and aims in mind. For example, it makes no sense for an aspiring art student to work at the same pace as an aspiring engineer. It makes no sense for an aspiring doctor to work at the same pace as an aspiring lawyer. If you have different end goals, you need to redefine what your expectations and goals are to create a schedule that is catered to your needs and your wants, not those of society. Lastly, not everything you do needs to add to your productivity level in some way or another. Here's what works for me. I set out a timeline of tasks that I can realistically complete in a day, keeping in mind all of my breaks and procrastination phases. In my breaks, I choose to go on TikTok for half an hour because that allows me to see other teenagers actually doing something with their time that they enjoy, things that actually intrigue them. It is important to integrate yourself in a community that does not only prioritize success, being materialistic success. If TikTok isn't your thing, watch a movie, watch a documentary, or just put on your earphones, go for a walk, go work out. I promise you, there is nothing more freeing than just walking aimlessly to a certain destination without caring about who knows you or what they might think about you. Ultimately, taking the time out of your day to do something that isn't conventionally productive is crucial in healing our mind, and it allows us to work smart. I hope that this TED Talk has shed some light on the sad truth about how we're being programmed as machines in today's century, which is not worth it in the long run. Considering that we live in such a generation where we're supposed to act as robots, it could be excruciating to sometimes let our human instincts kick in, which is why it is so tough for us to draw lines for being productive. But I hope that there will come a time where, as a generation, we learn to pace ourselves, we learn to be patient with ourselves, and I hope that that time starts now. Thank you.